stand by. We're about to begin. Good day, and welcome to today's webinar. Today's call is being recorded. At this time, I would like to turn the conference over to Ms. Genevieve Erb. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Ellen. Hi, everyone. I'm Genevieve Erb from Capgemini. Thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar titled Create Order from Chaos, Unleash the Power of Oracle Hyperion Data Relationship Management to Control Your Master Data. Your presenters today will be Dave Hong and Patricia Turpin. Dave Hong is a principal and the Oracle Hyperion EPM practice lead for Capgemini. He has over 16 years of experience with the Hyperion product suite and has worked with Hyperion planning since its inception. Patricia Turpin is a senior manager with Capgemini. She's been implementing solutions using Oracle's Hyperion products for over 11 years. Her product knowledge includes HFM, CRM, SDQM, planning, S-based data integration, and various Hyperion reporting applications. So before we get started, a bit of information regarding the flow of today's events. So Patricia and Dave will take us through the presentation. We'll have time at the end of the presentation for a brief Q&A session. We'd ask, if you would, to please submit your questions throughout today's session using the WebEx Q&A panel, and we'll review prior to closing the call. As noted, the session today will be recorded. We will be sending an email follow-up shortly with a link to the presentation as well as the recording. And with that, without further ado, let's begin today's presentation. I'll turn this over to Dave.
All right, thank you, Genevieve. So just to reiterate, Genevieve, welcome. I want to thank everybody for joining and appreciate you all taking time out of your day to attend and listen to the presentation and see the webinar. So just want to take a couple minutes real quick and talk about our practice and give you a quick overview. So not sure if you're familiar with BI Consulting Group or the BICG. BICG is what we refer to oftentimes. But basically, Capgemini acquired BICG, and that built out the Oracle Analytics practice. And so basically, we're an Oracle BI and EPM premier provider of services. And as you can see on the placard, recognized 4 years in a row as one of their top implementers from the Oracle, again, BI and EPM space. We specialize in the OBIE platform, as well as all the various analytic applications, and then also the full EPM and or Hyperion suite. We have a very highly experienced group of professionals that go back, many of them back to the origins of the software. So that's a little bit of our Oracle Analytics practice. And then specifically on our Hyperion or EPM competency. So again, we cover the entire product suite. So if you look at the core applications within Hyperion, S-based financial management, planning, and also the peripheral tools, which would be things like DRM, data relationship management, FDM, ODI, and the various other tools for reporting and data integration there. And then in terms of service offerings, of course, we offer full implementations. We have a full set of infrastructure services, and then also do things like health checks, assessments of existing applications, environments, and the like. And then, again, I mentioned the highest level of partnership. So we are a diamond level partner, or sorry, global certified advantage partner, which again is pretty hard to attain and dependent on the folks that we have on our team. And once again, just to reiterate the skill set that we have, we have a global practice here at Capgemini with averaging over 9 years of experience. And then if you go over to the North America practice, again, we have folks that are about 13 years on average experience. And again, going back to the origins of the product. So again, that's an overview of both our practice and then our Hyperion competencies. So at this point in time, I will pass it over to Patricia to get into the DRM content here.
Thank you, Dave. Today we're going to be walking through all the master data issues, a master data management strategy needed for a successful enterprise deployment. We'll be discussing the considerations needed for structuring Oracle's data relationship management applications, and we will also review the power of DRM and the key benefits it brings to an organization. Again, please enter your questions in the Q&A section as we go through the presentation. So let's go ahead and begin. Let's take a few moments and go over some basics of what is the master data management. Master data management's primary focus is maintaining master data. The master data may only apply to a section of the business, or it may encompass the entire organization. What is important is that the master data be consistent across all applicable systems. So what is master data? summarize, master data is both financial and analytical information that is key to the operation of a business. So master data would include chart of accounts at various levels used in general ledgers, consolidated reporting, planning, forecasting applications, legal entity structures, cost centers, reporting structures, products, employees, etc. Metadata, as everyone has probably heard before, is data about the data, such as descriptions, data types, column sizes. Even an attribute can be metadata, just as many of the properties are in DRM. What it doesn't include is transactional data. This is an example of master data and metadata. Briefly, on the left side, we have several hierarchies found in the DRM sample application. The account hierarchy is expanded so you can see the master data within the consolidated chart of accounts. On the right side contains metadata. We have name, which describes the node. There is leaf, which identifies a base or lowest member of a node hierarchy. And various other DRM system properties are listed. There are very simple explanations, but should help for anyone who has not worked with either type. So let's move on to issues and solutions. Some key questions regarding master data issues will be, how did the master data issues propagate across systems? How does this affect the company? And why are some master data management deployments not seen as a success or widely accepted when they were successfully implemented? I've listed some of the common causes of master data issues. As a result of these issues, different business areas are reporting different numbers for what appears to be the same master data. Accountability isn't clearly defined, and a scramble often occurs to try to figure out which numbers are more accurate. This instills the lack of confidence and data integrity concerns throughout an organization. There are also MDM, master data management deployments, that failed or were too difficult, costly to implement across the enterprise. We found the usual reasons they tried to resolve master data issues in a small contained environment to get a quick win, or didn't have the vision without acquiring all of the knowledge of the other consumers of the same master data. I think if you can look at the question, I think somebody's having a problem with the audio. So enterprise master data. Oh, that brings us to strategy. How do we unravel the years of chaos that have occurred with master data? We group these into three main areas for an enterprise MDM solution: business processes, ownership, and IT. For business processes, document the business processes that use systems, including diagrams whenever possible. It is usually most effective, we found, for each business unit to document their own processes, and then review with the DRM implementators and administrators for creating an enterprise plan. Analyze and evaluate the use of master data across the business and in the source systems. So when analyzing hierarchies, acquire some key items from the source systems. Usually you can acquire those from IT. And that's just for master data, not all metadata and data. So determine if the hierarchies are interrelated. Are there any subsets of each other or have other similarities? What are the relationships? Are there common uses? Document or acquire formats of master data and the maintenance of master data. All of these things are going to speed up your delivery, your deployments. Once all master data has been reviewed, decisions need to be made to determine what is going to be the enterprise master data. Set up processes to maintain the documentation until these are phased into the DRM solution. That's very important that you set those processes up to maintain on an ongoing future basis, so that when you do implement, you have up-to-date and you don't have to go back and redo your evaluations. So note, whether you're using DRM workflows or not, for those who know what workflows are, this business process review is essential for designing and maintaining enterprise data. Also, the more you've documented, the less expensive the implementation will be in the long run. So next, let's look at an example of an enterprise business process flow for one master data set. This example of process flows is all for the same master data. It's master data stored across multiple systems, which is the problem. They're siloed and maintained in those systems. Some business units had process documentation, but the majority was completed during the design phase. Note that there were 3 source systems and various unrelated business units changing the master data. Surprisingly, the master data was synced each month by the IT department, and it took IT programming resources 9 days to do so. They did it in 3 with 3 resources. So master data changes were Excel-based in all business units except 1. So we'll follow this customer through the complete process as we continue through our presentation. Next, we're going to go through the second stage, which is ownership. We call this ownership because once you get your processes documented, decisions need to be made. So who will make the enterprise decisions? The solution usually is owned by the business and supported by IT. Who will be your data stewards? Will they be centralized or local? You need to consider what data will become the enterprise standard for this set of master data. What will be your source? Who will maintain this? Will it be DRM? There's sometimes environmental or cultural issues in a business that you need to combat before you can just automatically store all sources in the same system. But if you show the problems clearly to your staff, it usually helps. Document the decisions. Documentation is really important during these first 2 stages so that the builds will go well. Create the new proposed enterprise data flows. You need to internally promote and continually review the proposed streamlined processes as they are updated. This will assist in gaining acceptance for future master data management plans. It is really important to require short and long-term solutions from your MDM implementer if you have enterprise master data goals. So here's the process of ownership stages results. This is the completed long-term DRM solution, enterprise-wide solution. Note that the business processes have all been streamlined through the workflow functionality in DRM, which eliminated the manual spreadsheet update and approval processes that were emailed all over the place. The inconsistencies are gone. It's extremely streamlined. So the last stage, the last stage in the enterprise strategy is IT. This creates incremental deployment plans. You don't want to just go and implement your total long-term strategy. You first should do an incremental deployment. This will allow you to establish a strong DRM foundation that is tested and accepted before deploying the remaining phases. The last note I have for continued success is to ensure enterprise policies are enforced in the future. So this is phase 1 plan. Several of the benefits we've expected have occurred. As you can see, we still have some streamlining to do, but this is just phase 1. So we've gotten through the initial pull of getting half of those Excel spreadsheets for a business unit eliminated. This is the phase 2 of the plan where we actually streamlined the rest of the processes that were online and could be streamlined through the workflows into DRM. And we have the last phase to do, which is to go back to and deploy our enterprise-wide solution. And that encompassed it, and that is maintained and ongoing today. So for DRM functionality, I provided a listing and a small description highlighting the main features of DRM for those who aren't familiar with DRM. So consider the following in designing the structures for DRM. Analyze, excuse me. So define set of governance that empowers those business users to own and maintain their master data throughout the entire organization. Remove the IT-centric focus on managing the business users' data, master data. Managing conflicts, semantics, all the different naming conventions, like if you have social security numbers in one location as your employee ID, and it's 9 characters versus employee IDs in another, there are 11 characters. DRM can manage that for you and ensure that you don't have to change those source systems, which will now become target systems. You don't have to change those, but you can actually load from DRM into the different formatted areas. So processes and changes is controlled with workflow now, and very streamlined, very automated process for the business process users. Versioning and hierarchies. What-if scenarios can be taken care of. Historical tracking. We have comparison reporting that's available. DRM has some extremely strong functions in its versioning hierarchies to allow lots of different situations going on with your analysis that don't affect your actual working production version and hierarchies. So there are different structural views of the same corporate hierarchies across business units. It's also that can be used. Validations and verifications. These are very important. They contain the business rules that enforce the standards across the enterprise. You set those up front. Obviously, they're ongoing. You can change them as your business operations change. Nodes and node types. Identifies the master record and the categorization of the node. A node being just a member in your hierarchy. Properties. They have inheritance on them, so you can inherit them down and you don't have to build as many properties that way if you use those features. It has extremely good functionality in creating complex properties. And property categories, they're used to describe the nodes, your attributes, or metadata, and they organize your properties. So if you have, let's say, downstream systems of HFM and planning, those can be actual property categories, which will help you organize and build DRM so that it's extremely streamlined for the business users. So security and audit logs. Oracle has actually enhanced their security and audit logs in the recent releases, and they have now granular role-level security with multiple roles allowed, which is very useful in allowing maybe just viewers or in one situation where they're actually writing back in another. Granular role-level security. Tracks changes of all hierarchies and attributes, so you can do minute auditing of your changes that have occurred in the DRM system. So next, we're going to go into the DRM considerations. When you're, this is a summary list of the key DRM considerations that you should be looking at when you're trying to design structures for DRM. Analyze the flow from your source system to your target. When you're analyzing the process flows, make sure you go from source and realize that you're going to have the target systems change, and what are you going to need in those target systems, and you need to look at that as well. This can be done in a later phase than your initial design phases, but it is something that will need to be done right at the start of the build. What versions will you need to maintain online for each target system? You need to understand exactly how your versions will be maintained. Are you going to need historical versions, offline versions for the past 2 years? I mean, there's some considerations to be taken in there. Also key are, what are the requirements? Are you needing incremental or full load of your data? And from different systems, different requirements. And DRM is extremely resourceful and useful with their versioning and hierarchy to blend these and make them very easy for the business user. what is the best method that you can get to process the master data into the target systems. This you have to have as an integration point. You need to review what kind of target systems you have, what it needs to do to propagate the data from DRM into its master data hierarchies. So you have to look at that. Ascertain the frequency of your updates. Know how much time you're going to need to actually process through the master data. How often does it need to be updated? Can the templates for Hyperion target systems be used? That's a good question to ask. Consider what property categories will be needed. Usually it's based on your target systems. Like we showed earlier, if you have an HFM or planning or data warehouse that you're supplying master data to, look at those, and you usually will create a lot of those in their own custom targets or categories. So we have Know Your Business User Attributes next. The requirements for the attributes will help you build up your DRM to meet the business needs, which is going to be very meaningful for the end user interface. Acquire validation business rules prior to load. Prior to the build. That's important to start. Obviously, those will change over time, but those are important to get a good ground foundation going of what type of enterprise enforced rules will be going in, and keep everything standardized. Understand your security levels needed for all your business units. Obviously, this also can change easily throughout time, but get a good, strong foundation of how you want your business units and the people who are going to be actual data stewards to work. Use of the blender, query, and comparison functions in DRM to help identify data issues. These functions have been around for many, many years with DRM and are extremely robust and helpful and simple enough that business users usually do not have issues, although you do have some situations where you want to create an admin to control exactly how to build up those things, and then just have the business users follow through on that. So efficient master data and hierarchies will consist of strong design of nodes, properties, validations, rules, and export. Let's go to the key benefits of DRM. We have streamlined processes with workflows. We showed in the example, and that's actually an actually working example. We maintain maintenance of the master data by the business users instead of the intensive IT resources. Plus, it's business operations, and they should control their own master data. So business rules and validations for enforcing enterprise standards. This is where you'll stop yourselves from actually going into the same siloed mode of implementing different systems and not having the master data synchronized across the enterprise. DRM also provides consistent reporting and analytics, dependable, no more searching for the truth. You've got one source for it. Effectively and efficiently maintains your target system requirement differences, and we discussed that when we had this sample for the Social Security numbers. Accurate and easily maintained alternate views of master data. With DRM's versioning and multiple hierarchies within versions, and you've got multiple versions out there most of the time, that easily is maintainable without causing issues with the application itself. So we have advanced hierarchy management functionality with the DRM. Enhanced security options and audit trails, we discussed that, how you'd like to set that up. And the audit trails in the last several versions have been greatly enhanced. We also have enhanced date time fields, which have been really a huge help with auditing. So reduced effort and cost of deployments using templates, that's for implementing like the EPM solutions, HFM, Hyperion Planning, and S-Base. There's some templates that you can use if, and you can modify them if it doesn't exactly meet your needs, but they can give you a great starting point when you're beginning your build. And you put those templates in and you have a lot of the properties already created. That will save you time and money during your implementation. There's also reduced effort and cost of deployments using those. There's also robust, intuitive user experience with the functionalities for what-if scenarios, drag and drop maintenance, click and select mapping, full and incremental updates, rollback, and advanced reporting. Well, this is the conclusion of the presentation part. We've gone a little fast, but give you back a little time today maybe, but let's go ahead and go and answer Q&A posted during the webinar. Let's see. We had some audio issues at the beginning. Okay. So we have a question that's posed that said, would the database in slide 12 serve towards data warehouse also? Is the goal to combine all the data into one central location? So in slide 12, I'm just going to flip back. The slide 12, we do have actually a data warehouse, a data mart. The red one on the lower right side is a data mart that was used. So yes, this slide is specific for the company. They've gone through the company that we built this for. They've gone through the 3 phases. At this point, they were gone through the first 2 phases, and this is their final solution that we came up with. So yes, you can use this strategy, but you have to understand, and those are different types of interfaces for each type of system, so each one has to be analyzed and reviewed. Combining all the master data into one central location the goal is to combine master data and control it from one central location. So master data was the key problem. One of those key problems we addressed was the master data being separate in separate databases or application systems across this company, and maintained in those systems caused all kinds of reporting issues, and obviously that was one of the fundamental issues we had when we went through that. So yes, that is the goal, is to control master data in one central location. We have another question about the design phase for this example presented. How long was the design phase for it? It took approximately 3 weeks for documenting all the processes, going through all the interviews, having all the business meetings, and going through the ownership phases. So that's about how long this one took for this company. And remember, this is master data. This is one set of master data that was controlled over 3 different systems, plus a bunch of Excel files. I'm not sure I quite understand this, but let's see. We have a question that says, can you delete mapping data without affecting future refreshes? I think whenever we have your mapping inside, you can always delete it and keep it in a separate version if there's, for some reason, you don't want it to affect your future issues. But if you're talking about when you're loading data, then yeah, we can definitely actually load the data into a different version and merge it in when we're ready or when we have the proper mapping in place. So actually, best standards and best practices are to load your data into a separate version if you have not done your updated mappings, and then blend them together. So let's see if we have another question.
Patricia, did you see the question from Henry about how do you implement workflow?
Yeah, that I do have that one next. How do you implement workflow? That's actually quite a long discussion topic. So it's got its own kit to create your workflow, process workflows, and if you have more questions on that one, we can actually, there's a whole document on our Oracle that you can get for that, or if you're trying to do it yourself, or if you want to contact me at the end of the presentation, you get my email, we can talk through specifically what you're asking about on your implementation. We also have, can VRM be installed multiple times on a server? Yes, in more recent releases, Oracle has added that capability, and it is often used with like lifecycle management when you're doing your upgrades. So I don't see any other Q&A at this time.
Patricia, let me
Yes.
ask you one more question there. So given your experience, all right, with DRM and, the end result, can you just give us some examples of some wins or some values that you've seen after it's been implemented for clients? And I'm not talking specific, benchmarking, for example, but just some maintenance wins, if you will, or other advantages that have gotten from implementing DRM.
There's a lot. Just a lot. Let me take the example that we just had. You saw that there are at least 10 or 12 processes that were being handled on Excel, and that's a very common thing that we see across companies. The going approval process was in Excel, going from one, we want to make a change in the employee data and send it over here and send it over there. That process can all be streamlined and actually have it just right on workflow. So workflow, we didn't go into it in too much depth, but you can build those processes in workflow so that you don't have to pass anything around, no more emailing, no more chasing around to see where's my change. It hasn't been in the system yet. I mean, it eliminates all of that time spent on that. It saves money. There are so many of those benefits that we see, not just on process flows. There's just the speed of updates. DRM is extremely quick and efficient to process all the metadata, the master data, and its attributes through to all these downstream systems. Its maintenance is pretty simplified. It's got a good graphical web user interface. So if there
one other thing, Patricia, then your experience in terms of using DRM, again, I know you mentioned within the Hyperion product set, and then outside of the Hyperion product set, what do you see more often, or do you see an equal mix?
Oh, yeah. The Oracle EBS systems, multiple general ledger systems are almost always included eventually. Like I said, the chart of accounts is sometimes hard to take the control away from the GL side, but it is almost always included. The chart of accounts is a good foundational thing that we usually will push to. And we have Oracle has enhanced interfaces with the EBS system. We also have, you name it. There's PeopleSoft. We use, there's just data warehouses, data marts. There's some custom applications that we downloaded. You name it. It's pretty much data model agnostic, so you can export and create your exports to customize those towards those downstream systems. If there are no other questions, it looks like we're conclusion of our presentation. I'll turn it back over to Genevieve.
Hi, thanks, Patricia. Well, thanks everyone again for joining the webinar today. We'll be sending an email follow-up shortly with a link to the presentation as well as the recording for your information. Before we close, I'd like to note that our next webinar, titled Maps, Facts, and Stats, Oh My, Exploring Spatial Analytics in OBIEE 11G, will be held on April 17th at 1 o'clock Eastern. You'll receive an invite shortly with registration details if you're interested. As well, we offer additional training programs that can be found at Capgemini's BICG University website. The URL for this is listed within the context page of the presentation. Also, if you have any remaining questions that didn't get addressed today, please don't hesitate to contact our presenters. Their email addresses can also be found on the context page of the presentation. We hope you enjoyed the webinar. We look forward to connecting next time. Thanks so much and have a good day.
And that does conclude today's conference. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your participation. You may now disconnect.